Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Today on CityCast Madison. Starting this Friday, a notable production will take the stage at Broome Street Theater. An original play called The Classroom Ain't Enough examines how our educational system fails Black and Brown communities. The play, written by a former educator, is a choreo poem combining poetry, dance, music, and song in vignettes that show BIPOC students and teachers' experiences. We sat down with the playwright Charles Payne to learn more about the production and what he hopes it might spark in Madison. It's Wednesday, April 17th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Charles, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am excellent. I want to ask you about your choreo play, The Classroom Ain't Enough. It's based on your lived experience as a teacher working in classrooms. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am super excited for the show.
And so what can you tell us about the story?
I mean, it was very essential for me to write as the playwright, a play that allows actors to play roles that are not just their complex identities. That's not the story. They are the story. So an audience can see the spirit of who they are and see not only their essence, but their experience. So it's a celebration of 4 actors who get to take on different vignettes that are centered around my experiences with education. And the actors get to put their own lens to the role and make it their own. So it makes it special. Super excited for everyone to get to see it and be a part of it.
Yeah, it started from poems that you wrote. And now you've got directors that are bringing that to life alongside you, in an ensemble. Can you talk about what's the format now?
Yeah, the format is a combination of my slam poetry. Back in the day, I was a slam poet when there was a National Poetry Association that no longer exists now. And then it also includes some of the stories and essays that I've gotten to work on for the Moth, Madison, Moth, Milwaukee. And also I've gotten to write for the Isthmus. So it's a combination of both that poetry, those stories, those monologues, and some really great music in between.
Yeah, and I actually met you through Mad City Story Slam. You're an excellent storyteller, really, really moving. And as you said, you've written in the Isthmus. You're a wonderful writer. This play in specific, the words, the poems, you've received multiple recognitions for your writing on this already. Without giving away too much, can you share any of the storylines or anecdotes from a vignette to give us a taste of what topics you're covering around education?
Oh, of course. Imagine taking a group of inner city kids to Washington, D.C. Imagine being a kid and being taken to Toronto to see the Phantom of the Opera against all odds and everyone not wanting you to go. Imagine getting written up for protecting your student outside of school. It's going to take you through all of these different experiences, all connected together with some poetry that is talking about what's happening in the world today. Because you don't get a break from the news cycle. You don't get a break from Black death. You don't get that as a teacher. You are still living it. So it's all connected. And I love it.
That just struck for me an experience I had at the American Players Theater. I was a part of SCE, the summer collegiate experience at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So before school, you go and do some classes, including with the first wave folks who are, slam poets and artists, one of which, Richard Jones, he was in my class. He's the composer for The Classroom Ain't Enough. And I remember we went, it's mostly a group of Black and brown students. And the whole rest of the audience was all white. And everyone, they would not stop staring. And it's like, and it was just that is just what came up for me when you said imagine that experience. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe that specific vignette?
I mean, I can talk about my personal experience at APT. I think that is head on too.
You received a recognition from American Players Theater for your writing on this, right?
Yes, and encouragement. And they also were like, we want you to be able to see more shows. How can we help? So I got to see the brothers' sides with a good friend. And I'll never forget it. Like, we were sitting up front and the cast came and hugged me after the show. They told me I was the first person of color they've seen to come see the show. And they could like feel my energy throughout the whole thing because I was connecting in it with a different way. It was so much love. It almost like brought me to tears. And it was like, man, I got to write this play. I got to create this opportunity for other folks so that they can connect and get this feeling that I'm getting like right now. So.
Wow. And so my understanding is that was the first place that you started writing some of this poetry was with American Players Theater is here locally.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had the poetry, but the opportunity to get the support to grow my art and apply for their new voices opportunity got me to sit down and put together something beautiful. And I knew of Sean Gay's choreo poem, When the Rainbow Isn't Enough, for Colored Girls Who Consider Suicide. I knew it very well, and it inspired my work because I was like, ooh, I can do something like a choreo poem. I could easily write that. And I wrote it and I sent it and they recognized it, which I never thought would happen. I thought I would just send it and just get like a normal rejection. But they recognized it. They took time to talk to me. They provided me with resources. They like recommended that I also apply to Ford Theater's Playwright Festival, which I also made it to like a really close, like semifinalist mode, but they couldn't figure out what to do with it. And I don't think any of this happens, without that additional support from these local theaters which are in the Madison community.
Yeah. And so it started here locally. And then you actually took the play to South Carolina. You went national with the story, and now you're bringing it back to Broome Street, which is so, so awesome. And the content, talking about the American educational system, and right here in Madison, man, are there conversations to be had about our school district and what's happening here locally. What conversations do you hope The Classroom Ain't Enough sparks?
I mean, I really hope that people walk away knowing that a child who's only educated in school is an uneducated child. And I hope they're moved to get involved in causing the change. We know a referendum is coming. We know the budget is a hot mess. We know that these schools are underfunded. What is our community going to do to step up to provide that additional support? And that's what I'm hoping people take from this, is because it's not just a single story that public education is good, everything else is bad. Like, we need to be involved in our youth education moving forward. And hopefully more people want to be a part of it instead of continuing to distance themselves from it.
Yeah. And it just from going off the title, the classroom is not enough. Like, it's not serving the way it should. And it sounds like you're also painting like this isn't a dichotomy between public education versus, private school. That's almost, not to put words in your mouth, but maybe a distraction from some of the bigger issues at hand that maybe need to get more attention.
It's a major distraction because it's the same pot of funding. And I didn't know that until I worked in a public school and worked in a charter school and worked in a private school. Like, they're all pulling from the same pot. So it's hurting public school when we're printing out vouchers and we're sending kids to private school. And it's hurting public school when we have these charter schools that open up with these new ideas and run on shoestring budgets. So when there's not enough money to go around, you need others to be getting involved in order to fill some of those gaps, unfortunately. And less people are involved in filling those gaps than ever before these days, it feels like.
And was that your experience as a teacher and getting jobs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I taught, I faced a lot of heartbreak because my first year teaching, we had the housing market crash and I was immediately rifted. So I'm already not making a ton of money, and now I don't have stable employment, and I can't float myself by working at the gas station. I was like working full time at like a Circle K.
Wow.
So it was a lot of those things, Like right now, like the biggest like complaint I'm hearing over and over again is, oh my, these teachers never should have got raises, like, and it's like heartbreaking to hear that from the public. Like these teachers don't deserve raises. Like, knowing how much I struggle to make ends meet and how much work I was putting in every single day, for someone to say that I'm not, I don't deserve an inflation raise would be really painful. And the reason why I'm not doing it right now is because it hasn't been a lucrative field to go into. You don't get a lot of support. I always felt like I was spending more of my own money to keep my science classroom running the way that I wanted it to do. But like I was buying things. It's a very lonely and exhausting experience, but it's worth it. Like, I think when you walk away from play, you'll see why I love it so much and why I hope to one day be able to return to being an educator, because it's such a vibrant experience.
This episode is brought to you by ShipStation. If you run an e-commerce business, you know how much work it takes to produce something great while dealing with complicated shipping issues. That's why over 130,000 companies have turned to ShipStation, an innovative tool that allows you to focus less on shipping and more on building your brand. With ShipStation, you can manage orders, label printing, reporting, and customer service on one easy-to-use dashboard. You'll reduce warehouse costs with reliable enterprise solutions and save thousands on shipping costs with discounts up to 89% off. Plus, you can effortlessly import orders from everywhere you sell online. So, turn your shipping challenges into opportunities for growth. Go to ShipStation.com and use code POD to sign up for your free 60-day trial. That's ShipStation.com, code POD.
We're talking about resources and the lack thereof in the educational systems. I think we should talk about the fact that you made an effort to make sure that your entire ensemble gets paid. So the story is really important. You have an all BIPOC crew, an all BIPOC ensemble, which is incredible. And you're paying them, which seems like a game changer for community theater.
I wish it was a game changer because I'm not sure it's sustainable and people think what we're doing is extremely weird. And I do say the we with a capital W and an E because this doesn't happen without my co-producer. We both have not taken any money to do this. We put our focus into fundraising and getting community support to make sure people were compensated for their work. Usually when it comes to community theater, everyone usually works for free. The actors do it for the love and they don't really get paid, which is a really hard thing to do when you're thinking about how much time and effort you have to put into preparing for the role, getting to rehearsals. Like, you have to be there every single day for Tech Week. There's a lot of work that goes into it that should be compensated. And it's the reason why it's a major barrier for a lot of folks of color to do community theater. But I think because we were so dedicated to this, because Broome Street is supporting our vision and wanting theater to become more equitable, we're able to put on this show. And the great thing about it, too, with Broome Street is if you come to the door, it's pay what you can. So come to the door, pay what you can. The money shouldn't be a barrier for you to come see the show. So hopefully we have a more diverse audience because there shouldn't be anything stopping you from getting to it. Where in the past, for me, always being someone who saw theater from the window and never a mirror, because it was like a $110 ticket to see a Broadway show that was traveling in, it's great to know that people will have the opportunity to find that mirror and see powerful narratives that hopefully they can connect with, like in person.
So maybe it's not a game changer, but you're definitely trying to make change and you're doing things differently than, at least what I've seen in the past. And so I am curious how important it is for compensation for folks, like how much time goes into this, and especially people who have kids or multiple jobs. Did that help you recruit? What was it like gathering BIPOC talent here in Madison?
So to be honest with you, I was like scared out of my mind. Like, because I was like, can we even find 4 BIPOC actors in Madison?
Oh,
but we were blown away when we had auditions. We had so many people come out and we could have cast the play twice off, like that talent does exist. But I think the thing that changed it was, 1, this play is written in your perspective. And 2, you're going to be compensated for your work. I think that really brought people out, and I think that's, for this to be like a one-off case study, I don't see myself starting a theater company because I'm struggling financially right now trying to get the show off. But it shows that if you, compensate people, they will come. Hopefully, theater companies will consider doing it for a couple of plays so they can diversify their cast, and hopefully that's something they can fit into their budget or fundraise for by looking at the model that we set up for this, this small but mighty production.
That's awesome. Like setting up a blueprint.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, knowing you are a talent, as we've already established, and anyone who's listening. And you've got such talent on the roster. We had mentioned local composer Richard Jones, who did the original instrumental music throughout. And I ran into one of your directors, Matt Rhinus, who's a native Madisonian and a former teacher here in the Madison School District, which is amazing. So you've got this knockout talent in the ensemble. And I want to know, what does seeing your work like this on stage mean to you?
Oh my, it brings everything full circle. It makes it all worth it. I can't think of a more humbling experience to seeing these people put so much effort into something that I put on the page. I was writing about it in one of my all poetry classes. Arts and Literature Lab does like a monthly poetry workshop that I've been doing for the last 3 years, which is amazing. I remember I was writing a line and because the instructor asked you, who are your people? And I was like, my people might be theater people. They take cardboard and turn it into gold, they've taken my story and made it something incredible. I'll be nothing more than beyond grateful for all the time they put into it. And our director, Matt, wanted to act in the play. And we were like, how about directing? Because when we first pitched the play to Broome Street, they were expecting me to be able to not only write it, but direct it. And I was like, I need a director. And it turned out Matt did an incredible job. He directed a show called The Birds. Everyone was buzzing about it. So I knew that was going to be the right ask. And I'm really grateful that they accepted the role and took on the responsibility of the show, because I think they're going to do really great. And Richard was just so instrumental in the beginning. Literally, Richard called me into the studio. I spit a bunch of poetry for him. And then he just created and sent me such incredible instrumentals. He's been a major part of this journey of becoming what it is now too, as well.
Oh,
this is an extremely talented team. It's going to be a great show and a great run.
It's going to be lit. It's no secret demographically, Madison's pretty white. I wanted to ask how you'd characterize the broader Madison theater scene when it comes to availability of diverse storylines and character opportunities.
I am incredibly proud of the work that American Players Theater is attempting to do. I realize that it's extremely challenging. I'm also blown away by what Ford Theater is doing and the acts that they bring in as well. So I would say it's few and far between. Because I think once we start digging into our community theater, you start to see less and less diversity. And not all of us have the capacity to be equity actors. And I'm so grateful that we have APT and that we have Ford Theater and that they hire equity actors. But when we're talking about trying to get to the lower levels of theater, you see less and less of us, unfortunately. It gets smaller and smaller. And I would love to see more. Because I think it's such a healing experience. I think everyone should have the opportunity to participate in. And I'm hoping if I can publish this work that, it becomes something that students can do and actors can do for years going forward.
That sounds beautiful. I hope that happens as well. What would make you most satisfied or thrilled to know people took away from the play this spring?
I would love for people to move beyond the status quo. I love it when I get the opportunity to perform and people are like, I'm going to get involved now. If it's something just as small as I'm going to join Big Brothers, Big Sisters, saying that you're going to take that step and get involved would be a thrill for me. Because Madison has great people who have helped me get to the point that I am right now. But I don't think everyone in our community has access to those great people. So I'm hoping that, the call to action sways someone's heart to want to do something for someone other than themselves, to do something for the school system, even if that's just you dropping off pencils to the local elementary school. All the small gestures are helpful. And I'm hoping that those random acts of kindness, sway people's thoughts. I also hope once the referendum comes into play for voting, that people vote for schools to get more funding. I'm hoping that also sways their heart as well. Not saying that it's a political play that's going to tell people to vote at the end of the show, but I think when it comes across the ballot, I hope that people move beyond the single narrative that public school is good the way it is, private school is what's bad, and really think when they cast their vote.
Well, Charles, we appreciate you so much, and we are excited to go see the show.
I'm excited to have you and hear what you think.
That's Charles Payne, Madison playwright and writer of The Classroom Ain't Enough. The play will run at the Broome Street Theater from April 19th through May 22nd. And if you're new here, Broome Street Theater is on Willie Street. Now you know. Heads up, yours truly will be doing a talkback Q&A for the play on Sunday, April 28th. If you want to catch me there, I'll be doing that conversation. If you see me, please say hello. For more information on tickets for the show, you can head to our show notes for a link. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with the most captivating storyteller in your life? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then,